boss says, maybe not all that, but it gives us something to think about. I have to get back to the conference. They're moving us to a different room. Talk soon. How might that message get confused, either because of the medium chosen, coding chosen, or the context?
It seems like the boss doesn't want to answer your question, or is trying to like brush it off.
Okay, but the boss is the one who brought it up, right?
Yeah.
The boss is saying someone just said we might get bought out, and then tries to brush it off.
I think the conversation between the receiver and the sender is at two different levels.
Okay.
The receiver is trying to decode too much out of what the boss is trying to say. So he's trying to take it, or she's trying to take it to the next level, like legal, and all that. While the boss is just probably sending out like whatever he heard. He just wants to share.
Yes, I think that's a very fair interpretation of this, that the boss is just trying to share, but for some reason the recipient is taking this at a more extreme level than perhaps the boss is intending. Why is the recipient taking it at a more extreme level?
He's insecure.
What's that?
He's insecure about his child problem.
Okay, this person may be insecure. What about the medium might provoke this type of response? Like the text message.
It's informal.
Okay, text message could mean informal. Text message also might mean something else. Josh?
Well, it could be like really urgent, like he just started
Urgency.
texting you the second he heard this at the conference or whatever. He needs a response of some kind.
Yeah, that's what I noticed about this one. That the medium could indicate urgency when it's not necessarily supposed to indicate urgency. Okay, this is a fun one. This is from Mom. Your great aunt just passed away, LOL. You say, why is that funny? Mom says, it's not funny, David. What do you mean? You say, Mom, LOL means laughing out loud. Mom says, oh my goodness, I just sent that to everyone. I thought it meant lots of love. I'll have to call everyone back. So mistake, a coding mistake that could be very embarrassing. All right, and this is my favorite one. This is more just for fun, but we can talk about some coding examples. All right, Sarah is the person texting this person. So Sarah says, hey. This person says, hey, we need to talk. Sarah says, yeah. You say, look, our relationship is like doing push-ups on your knees. It's just not working out. Sarah says, oh my God, did you just break up with me? Yes, you just broke up with Sarah. Now, how did you code that message? You didn't use it's not a metaphor. At first I thought it was a metaphor. It's a pun. It's a pun. Push up on your knees. It's not working out. And then I take working out to mean our relationship isn't jiving together. So I thought it was interesting from the way this person chose to code that message. Could definitely be offensive. Kind of funny. But could definitely could definitely upset the receiver.
I think the problem is the medium, more than coding.
Yes. So being broken up with over text message is that what you're getting at?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So not only choosing a medium, informal like text messaging, but using a pun. A pun to break up with someone. Alright. Let's talk a little bit about some social media tweets. I don't know if you all remember
Yeah.
2-3, oh you remember this?
Yeah.
2-3 years ago, NYPD said we want to enhance our image with the community. We want to show that we're cool with social media. We want to start this hashtag on Twitter, MyNYPD, and we want a bunch of people to send in photos of them having good community interactions with the NYPD. And I thought like, oh, Twitter is the way to go. Twitter is the way to reach the community. And so they said, please send in photos. And what happened, Levy?
I think there was a hashtag #NotMyNYPD where people were kind of tweeting negative things about the...
Well, no, that's the beauty of it. They kept it the same. They
Oh.
used the same hashtag.
Okay.
But they used the same hashtag, but they didn't send in nice photos. They sent in photos like this. All right, they sent in photos like this. All right, or very bad interactions. So this is an example. The NYPD thought they could control Twitter. They thought they could control a hashtag. And they thought they could use it for a self-serving purpose. And it ended up backfiring. Let me explain one more social media misfire, and then see if you have any comments on that before we move on. You may remember a couple years ago when the Ray Rice thing happened, where there's a video footage of this football player, Ray Rice, punching his then fiance, then girlfriend, and the relationship continued. I think they're now married. And there was a big discussion about how domestic violence in the NFL should be treated, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the hashtags that developed was stories from people who had been abused in a domestic situation, explained why they stayed. And it was a hashtag, why I stayed. And there were all sorts of very heartfelt stories and information about this is how an abuse sort of cycle can work. And there was all this discussion. DiGiorno Pizza noticed that this is a trending hashtag. So DiGiorno Pizza decides we should use that trending hashtag and say, hashtag why I stayed, you had a pizza. So they thought, this is trending, let's jump on the trending, and let's say pizza is a good reason to stay. And then they had all sorts of backlash. You should not be trying to sell pizza in this very heartfelt, very emotional topic. All right, so any thoughts on those two? I know I rushed through them quickly. Any thoughts on those last two, the DiGiorno or the My NYPD? What should the company have done a little bit differently? Yes.
I think this one is just really inappropriate in a sense. Like
Yeah.
why I say that Jesus. I don't know who is, the broadcasting person for
Yeah,
this
well,
company.
it seems apparent. All they knew was trending hashtag.
You definitely got
Listen.
broadcasting, but not a good one.
Yeah, well, so that's all they knew about Twitter, is that trending hashtags are something that gets noticed, so let's get noticed. I think that's the main takeaway for that one. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about a company that did a better job managing social media. It's Dell Communications. All right. So let's do it this way. So let's go over some basics of. Let me get this off. Let's start over here. Maybe this will disappear momentarily. All right, let's talk about Dell Computers. What do we know about this company, Dell Computers? Just some basics. We'll start with when did it start? What are they known for? What might be happening with this company in the last few years? Jerry.
So they started in 1984 when Michael Dell, he was like, I think it was in college, he started building computers in his garage.
In his dorm room,
Dorm room,
right.
yeah.
You're thinking of Steve Jobs building them in his garage.
Yeah.
Michael Dell in his dorm room, yes. All right, so, tell me more.
And their business model was the build-to-order business model where you would, earlier it was like phoning, but later it was online. You would just define, say you want this, that, for like the hard drive, or how much disk space you want, or like what processor, and then they build for you, and then they send it to you.
Yeah, okay,
And then-
so custom built to order.
Because
All
that
right.
was like revolutionary during that time. And later, because of changes, they also had to build pre-built computers for like Walmart and Best Buy.
Oh, Dell did? They pre-built for large custom order,
Yeah,
for large
They did that
commercial orders?
like later, like more recently, because of the changes in like the industry.
Okay, great, all right. So what's been going on lately with this company? Or any major bullet points in terms of things that happened in the important history of Dell that we need to know about? Vanessa? Yes. So you were public to private. Private, excellent. Now, or Josh, sorry?
I guess part of the public to private was a reaction to going from the leader in computer sales to continually dropping down the list.
Yeah, tell me about this dropping down the list.
I guess part of the problem started when Michael Dell he had a power shift where he was only chairman of the board of directors, I guess, instead of also being CEO. And the people who replaced him made a series of decisions that were not panning out. They didn't really discuss competition, but I think some of the competition changed at that time also.
Okay, so the drop in sales, possibly because of the lack of leadership after Michael Dell leaves, possibly just some things that were going on in the industry. Second?
One of the interesting things of Dell is they never manufactured anything.
Right, and they're an aggregator, right? We'll call them?
Yeah, so they had all contractors manufacturing as well as the assembly.
All right, fantastic. So aggregator, drop in sales. Now, I'm not an expert in the computer industry, but I think Apple computers illustrate something very important about cornering that computer market. When Steve Jobs started building computers in his garage, and they were the first PC, everyone bought Apple, and then Apple declined in sales, and that left room for companies like Dell and others to expand in the PC market. And so after the initial computers are invented, Apple's the only one who knows how to make computers, there was this big space in the market where Dell could step into and do build to order, aggregate stuff, and they were very, very successful that way. I think they were number one in certain years, but then they dropped after Michael Dell left. But then, when Apple came back, and everyone had a Mac computer, I guess we've got a few Mac computers in here. Do we have a majority of Mac computers in here? Maybe half and half.
Yeah, but this doesn't portray the general, I don't think.
Yes, okay. So, what sort of strategy did Dell shift to in the more recent years? Yes.
Well,
Service provider, solution provider, and yes. What else? Are they more business to consumer? Or are they more more business to business? So they're going through this privatization process. They're transferring from a B to C to more of a business to business, right? Because they're being pushed out, possibly from Apple, possibly from Lenovo, other companies that can make a personal computer less expensive fashion than they can. All right, so then let's ask this next question, all right? Were they successful in their, why is this not turning off? Were they successful in their social media strategy? Have they been successful in their social media strategy?
Yes.
Yes. All right. What is some of the social media infrastructure that Dell has? Vanessa.
They said the employees that are interested in engaging directly with consumers go through similar to certification process that allows them to answer questions or create forums to go back and forth with random people, I guess, Dell consumers about their product.
Yes. Okay. So what's the certification process called, Vanessa? SMAC-U. Right. Social Media and Communications University. So they go through a process where they can be certified to speak on behalf of Dell. And then they interact with customers online, some of which are their friends and family, some of which are just people that they are communicating with because that's their area of expertise. All right, so they've got SMAC-U. What's some of the other social media infrastructure? They've got SMAC-U. They've also got the social media and communications team, where they aggregated everything into one department. They whittled down hundreds of Facebook pages, Twitter pages, yada yada, and put it all into one. What else have they got? Social media communications, SMAC-U.
I think there was another important thing that they mentioned was the employees were that they made, that I work for Dell.
Yes.
So that, to emphasize that it's a credible information coming from the company.
Yes, yes, we'll talk a lot more about that in a moment, but just social media infrastructure. Josh?
I guess they started a website, Ideastorm, where
Yep.
they took submissions from customers and allowed them to vote on the quality of those ideas. Gave work to some of the things that they eventually offered in their computers and services.
Okay, so it's some of the things they offered in their computer services, but it's also a forum where they can discuss and determine what are the specifications of this. And yeah, this is actual ideas, right? The idea storms is what would you like to see in these products? And there's a couple examples of things that the company took from their suggestions. So idea storm, smack, what else? Yeah?
Chatter, that's their internal platform.
Chatter, tell me about that.
I think it's their internal platform that more than 10,000 employees using Chatter, that they can communicate with each other online, public, or private.
Okay, so it's communication between employees.
Right.
All right. And that, okay, good.
So Dell also, the listening part, Dell actively quoted influential online commentators, including journalists and bloggers, to try to move them from a general awareness of Dell to loyalty or even advocacy for the brand.
Okay,
So-
sorry, sum that up for me.
So basically, they had a system in which they could, the Dell Smack people, they could listen to what the customers and everything.
Yeah. So this is the social media and communications command center. Is that what it was?
Mhm.
Is that what they called it? Yes. Levy, did you have something else?
Yeah, like right to the SME scorecard, where employees can kind of review how well they're doing on the social media scene and the impact that they're having.
Yes, excellent. All right, so scorecard. Anyone want to talk a little bit more about that? Monitor how they're doing? Because Levy pretty much summed it up. All right, a scorecard to actually monitor how they're doing, monitor what's going on in social media. And what else do we have? We're missing just a couple.
I think they have a presence on all the major social media channels like Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. Strong social media presence on all the major ones. All right, presence, and then there's, so we've got Idea Storm, and then there's Tech Page One, yes. Tell us about Tech Page One.
It's curated somehow related content from around internet and based on a small amount.
Small amount of what?
Amount of Dell created content.
Okay, so they've got a small amount of Dell created content, but more importantly than that, it's a curator of various computer industry type things. And that's how they were building credibility, by saying, this is not just to sell our stuff, this is a bunch of cool stuff that you need to know as a computer consumer, and we'll think about how Dell products fit into that. All right, so we've got Idea Storm, Tech Page One. I feel like we're missing one more. Direct to Dell. Remember, tell me about Direct to Dell. What's that?
Is that people calling them and then they were sort of trying to?
Well, it's not people calling them. It's a blog or some sort of vehicle to get questions answered.
Answer.
Yeah.
It's a blog and it's there's some technical based information and it facilitates like interaction between users and technical.
Okay. And to your point, or maybe you were going to make this point, that it decreased the number of calls coming to Dell. Okay. So that's a little bit that's going on with the company. There's a little bit about their social media infrastructure. Let me ask you this question. How do we know that they have been successful with their social media strategy?
LTS.
Sales have gone up. Have they? And when?
Yeah, we talk about that. Twitter, so Twitter, we talk about.
Sales from Twitter? Okay, so we've got some direct sales that we can link to tweets. I think that part was mentioned. Natalie?
You have customers making statements like other competitors aren't doing this.
Yes. Okay, Fran?
And also the NPS score.
The what?
NPS score.
NPS score, I forgot, what is that?
That is
NPS
the
score.
Net Promoter Score.
Net Promoter Score.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us a little bit more about that, Fran.
Okay. After the Dell launched the social media, modifications, the Dell's NPS scores has risen dramatically, over 50%
Okay,
in
so-
3 years.
So an important metric, and that has gone. So we've got some evidence that the social media strategy has been effective. Question I have for you all is why? Why has this social media strategy been effective? Well, let's think about this in terms of the company you might build, the company you might work for, sort of what in their culture, what in their strategy, what in their execution has made them successful. Now let me break that down into those 3 points and then I'll get you your answers. So success, 3 parts. I want to know what culture, strategy, and execution. Okay. Culture, strategy, what do you got?
Because they use the training, so it got everybody on the same page on what to do, what not to do.
Okay, so Smack U training.
What if they got in the strategy?
U training. I suppose it could. I like execution. What would be their strategy, Levy, that would require them executing a consistent across the board training?
Need to be consistent.
Need to be consistent. Need to have
One voice.
one voice. Yeah. So one voice. One voice. All right. What else? Yeah.
I think talking about culture, we're doing a lot of their sales are done online, so they're being active online for a long time. They're being comfortable with the internet. So it makes it easier to, a lot of sales are down through Dell.com. So they're comfortable to operate.
Yes. So their comfort with the internet. All right. It may be just because the company's been on the internet for a while. It may also be because of their founder, Michael Dell, who started with blogs in the late 80s from his dorm room. Rita.
One strategy was that they wanted to be the voice of their customers in terms of whenever they have an issue that they were not happy with Dell, and there were certain actually examples in the case. They converted them from being, the unhappy customer to being an advocate for the company.
Yes. Okay. So they want to hear customers. And I think the case uses the term ranters,
Yeah.
and they want to hear them and convert them. And what about the positive ravers?
Great, yeah.
All right. So they want to hear both of them. And we want to give the ravers, the people who like our product, we want to give them a platform. So let's create all this stuff where they have a platform to say how awesome Dell is. And let's get our employees involved with one voice and customer training or social media training so that you can be part of that voice as well. And let's come back to your point that hashtag I work for Dell. How is that going to fit into their success? Just let us know if it would fit in necessarily into one of those 3 categories, but you can just talk generally about it. As you mentioned, credibility.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a matter of credibility to me. I mean, if I know that it's coming from an employee of Dell who is trained towards their job and is knowledgeable about what they're doing, I would, as a customer, tend to believe more in. I probably would stand a better chance of being converted to and closing a sale and converted to a loyal customer.
Yes, all right. So it speaks to credibility. And this whole idea with one voice and managing the social media dialogue, now they made some choices, I would say, that the NYPD, when they tried their Twitter campaign, didn't make. The NYPD, with their Twitter campaign, said we want to manage that discussion. but they didn't know how to manage that discussion. They didn't have a respect for what happens in Twitter and what happens on social media. Dell understood that to an extent they can't control everything, but we're going to do our best to manage it under these guidelines. Vanessa?
I actually thought the I work for Dell hashtag fell under culture because the way that I interpreted it was they were trying to be transparent about the fact that they're coming from a different perspective. So I thought it was honest. A lot of companies will pay people to say certain things or endorse them, and you don't really know why. And I thought that the I work for Dell hashtag really helped them to be very transparent. Like, listen, this is where I get my paycheck, so I have a reason to tell you things. But you can engage with me because I'm going to tell you the best that I know.
Yes, fantastic. Excellent point, Levy.
Well, going on that point, I would say if somebody said I work for Dell, I would actually tend to do them a bit less as opposed to some independent blogger. But I work for Dell would definitely give me respect for the Dell company that they're trying to be out there to engage.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a great point, Levy. So you would have a level of, you might be skeptical, but you would have a level of respect for them. And Vanessa mentioned something about sometimes companies pay random bloggers to say cool things about them. I would say that if Dell makes a point of making sure every employee hashtag I work for Dell, you would be less skeptical that someone is doing that. So if it's a true rant or raver about the product or service, then you would believe them. You say, oh, Dell makes a point. They send everyone to social media communications training, and if they work for Dell, they would say hashtag I work for Dell. Then,
To add on to culture, I think there's a culture of like trust that they give the employees, give them autonomy to you know, if they're engaging on this medium that potentially be quite disruptive. So they do have a level of trust that they're giving them.
okay, so they have trust, they let them speak, and they also, this company lets employees work on Facebook, work on social media during work hours. They actually encourage that. What do you all think? If you were the CEO of a company, would you say, get on Facebook as much as you want? Do you think that's a good strategy, a dangerous strategy?
Well, previously they didn't allow using the social media for which the sales fell down when there was a previous CEO after Michael Dell left and became the chairman of the board. So the social media thing came over and actually increased sales. So if you let people use Facebook during work, they might actually be Facebooking about the social media contents.
Yes.
And that can actually improve. It is being proven that is improving sales, and now there is actually the
So all right, so let me jump in. So it worked for Dell.
yeah.
All right, would you say it would work for any company?
It depends. I will say if they have a strategy, then
Yeah. Yes, Josh, you have something to add?
Well, just that I think on a level, especially in a tech company where there's a lot of use of these kind of things anyway, and I think many companies experience people using it, saying that you embrace it and at least try to frame it on your own terms is less fighting upstream, you know, against the currents of time, where it's so easy to do on your phone or on your computer or whatever. You know, acknowledging that this is what my employees do and making it work for you is a lot different than trying to ban it and having, like, you know, what are you going to hire extra managers to walk around behind people? And make sure they're working with it?
Exactly. All right, you can't stop the tide from coming in to the beach. It's coming anyway. Let's think about a way to manage it, and to Sagner's point, let's have a strategy. And then, let's say, go ahead and use it. Let's do it that way. All right, any other success factors here? Buddy? Yeah.
Yeah, the scorecard, I think, is more than a success. People want to, you know, people want, what's the word? They want feedback on how they're doing. So if somebody feels that they're making an impact, it gives them more incentive to communicate more. If they feel that they're not doing anything, then they feel like, why am I doing this?
Oh, so the Dell employees are
For the
getting that
employees
feedback.
themselves, yeah.
Yeah, so they're seeing that my efforts on social media have made a difference, right? That's good feedback. Let me ask you this. Jerry mentioned earlier this history of a built-to-order company. And I remember actually talking to Dell in 2000, 2001, and having them design a build-to-order computer for me. I didn't end up buying it. I think I got something at, I forget where it was. But I talked to the Dell representatives and had this build-to-order idea. How does a having history in build-to-order, might that affect their social media success? Specifically, how might that contribute to their culture? Jerry?
I would say that they would be more innovative because build-to-order was more innovative at that time. So since they're trying to see themselves as an innovative company, then I think the social media is like fits into the.
Okay, so innovative, right? They're a type of innovative company. There's something else that I think is really big with this. Priya?
Cross-functional. So they have to be really cross-functionally.
Okay, so the person on the phone needs to understand printers, needs to
Right.
understand us.
And
Perhaps.
also communicate to people who are building it with all the specifications and things like that. So they have to be cross-functionally.
Okay. Okay, all right, sure, fair point. There's something else pretty big that I'm looking for. That,
Would you say urgency?
Uh,
Sense of quick responses?
yeah, I go with you. I think these are all great ideas. I want one more though, yeah?
I want to build to order, make you understand the customer better, and that's what they come back to.
Yes, they're a company that has always been built in understanding the customer. All right, we want something that satisfies you and uniquely you. So when they started getting into social media, they had that in their cultural DNA, that we want to hear directly from the customers. We always have. We did it when there was phone lines. Now we're going to do it when there's social media. We're going to go direct to customer. That's our history. Direct to customer. And I think this is interesting that I mentioned earlier that it may not work for every company to let their employees use Facebook all day, but it worked for Dell because they had this infrastructure. And this is something that let's discuss for a minute in the 6 minutes that we have left. Should every company do this kind of social media strategy? And how does this history of being a customer-oriented company help them? Yeah?
I think if you're providing service to a customer, you're serving clients, then I think it could suit you. For, in the case of Dell, it's definitely suitable. But there are some industries or some other companies that they're not supposed to, allow this type of, practice. For instance, what if it's a, top research, organization? Some of the information are confidential. Even emailing, using a personal email in a corporate setting is prohibited because
Right.
they're afraid to transfer
Right.
the information out. And
Right.
even you are only allowed to, do your work on a company computer, and you can
Yeah,
take it
this would
home.
not be a great strategy for the Department
Right,
of State.
right. I don't think it's for everyone, but it works for them.
Yeah, and this is one of the main reasons why it works, or one of the important reasons why it works. So I think it's important to think about, yes, it worked, but only because of certain infrastructure and certain culture. And let's think about what that means for a broader assessment of other companies. Okay, so I want to start to close with this assessment of the power of social media. There's a statistic in the case that says leads on social media are 2 to 5 times more likely to close than traditional leads. Let me ask you, why are leads in social media 2 to 5 times more likely to close? Some of it will be stuff we've already discussed, but let's just sum it up that way. Why social media leads more likely to close? And feel free to say stuff that we've already mentioned. But that's powerful concept I want to end with. Social media 2 to 5 times more likely to close. Let's aggregate it all together and ask ourselves why not.
Bad coding.
Bad. Okay, tell me more. Thanks for using the term coding, but tell me more.
If you're trying to deliver a message that's not received well.
Oh, close. You know what close means, right? Close means like the sale was closed.
Oh, I didn't hear that, okay.
Yeah. So closed, like closed means that the sale will be completed. So if I get a lead from a source on social media, from TechPage One, or Direct to Dell, or Idea of Storm, and that person is interfacing with one of my employees who's telling he or she about the company, and that person says, hey, you know, you should think about buying this for your company, you should think about buying this for yourself, that lead is much more likely to result in a sale. Close. Yeah, close is good. So why? Why is that?
I can think of two things. One is time efficient, and the other thing is you're able to cater to your customers' needs directly, instead of,
Faster, direct to customer.
right.
Outstanding, yes. What? Let.
Well, what you just said makes it quite clear that having nothing on in terms of what you hear a lead from a personal, from a family or from a friend, then obviously you would take the recommendation seriously. But also,
Let me stop you there before we hear the second point. So, how many people is Dell certified to speak on their behalf? Does anyone remember? 170,000, is that right? I think there's 117,000 total and like 10% of employees, about 17,000. Is that right?
Yeah.
So they have a lot of friends and family. All right, and to your point, so we hear from someone directly from those friends and family. That's powerful. And your second point?
my second point is social media is much more directed at interested consumers. So typically your marketing would be whatever it was, billboards or magazine ads or stuff like that. It wasn't personalized. Now social media, or before advertising became very big on social media, but beginning of social media stage, where people chose what mediums they want to follow and what interactions they want to have. So anybody who had interaction from Dell was probably more by choice than just noise and
Yes, okay. So you're right. You've been engaging in a customer interaction by choice, rather than having a billboard forced at you or a banner ad thrown at you. Good, Josh.
Well, to build on that, they're kind of trading on the credibility they've generated in that marketplace online.
Okay, so they built up some credibility, possibly because they've been there a while, possibly because they're using the I work for Dell hashtag, and because they're reaching out to their friends and family, and they're connecting friends and family, even if they don't work for Dell. You could use these platforms to hear from your friends, even though, like I said, they may not work for Dell, but they could say, yeah, I bought that, and it worked well. All right, let's spend 60 seconds talking about how Dell is going to transition from a business that sells primarily to customers to now a business who wants to sell primarily to other businesses. How can they do that effectively? Now your answer does not have to be use social media. It can be use social media, but it does not have to be use social media.
Can you repeat the last part?
How can Dell transfer from a company that sells primarily to customers to now a company that wants to sell primarily to businesses? How can they make that transition as effective as possible? Priya.
With a relationship,
With,
long-term relationship with the businesses.
okay, and all right, is social media going to fit into that?
No,
Okay.
to some extent, yeah.
I think before they turned from public to private, Dell did not take money from Wall Street, and instead he took money from Microsoft and Bill Gates, because he didn't want to give he didn't want to show quarterly results, because that's not long term. So if you are getting money from Microsoft, you can start building a relationship that we might not be able to pay you the money, but we will give you this computer so that you install your Microsoft in between, and that's the way you can start.
Oh, okay, so they actually developed a relationship with Microsoft. because
Yeah,
of that.
not Microsoft, but Bill Gates.
With Bill
who
Gates
actually
because of
owns
that?
Microsoft part of it. So
Okay, good, excellent points. The thought that the case I think leaves us with is that selling directly to businesses is a larger proposition. It's a very higher end sale that fewer transactions are going to be much more meaningful. And to build the credibility with social media seems to be helping Dell. So we have credibility, we have a vehicle. Look how many of your employees already use Dell. Look how we can service their questions or their needs over this social media. And look at these other companies that are saying great things about us on social media. So if you make this huge purchase, say you buy computers for every single classroom in Rutgers Business School, that's a big deal. And you want to think very carefully about that. And social media, it seems, according to the authors of the case, was an effective way to build that credibility. All right, so sorry for rushing through everything, keeping you a minute late, but that is it for today. I look forward to next week, which is our exciting on-camera workshop. And if you have any questions as you prepare for that, feel free to email me, or you can ask me after class now, maybe any questions about the interview you're constructing or anything of that nature. Is there a question? Yeah, use your computer, use your laptop, so you can have a big screen.
Oh, you'll be my interviewer?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Sure. And how do you say your first name, Jana? Okay, if there is anything, any clarity, just let me know.
Can I have your email
Yes, so you'll be on Skype. Yeah, what I'm doing is go.
I'll send it.
You can divide it up. One person is
Try my best. Make it sound reasonable. Good. I mean, the real guy deserves it. I don't know if I do.
Right.
had to go in.
That's fine. I mean, I think maybe.